It's Thursday, June 9th. As they always do, the years just fly by, don't
Fly by, months fly by, and we're into summertime right now.
they? Before we get into our weekly prognostications and outlooks, tell us a little bit about your adventure that you had. You were off to Montana.
Well, first of all, I'm glad to be back. Thanks to Liz did the video with you. I understand. Thanks to Liz and doing a great job and sitting in. I had the great opportunity to travel with a friend to Fort Smith, Montana. Now, the purpose of the travel was twofold. We were actually hauling a horse, a thoroughbred horse, out to Montana to trade off with a set of cowboys out there and my friend is hauling back 3/4 horses, so it's not a 3-to-1 trade. It's a 1-to-1 trade, and he bought 2 horses.
All right.
So he did that, but we traveled across the United States, and that was, if you like to drive and you enjoy it, that was fascinating. We stayed in. When you travel with a horse, you stay in fairgrounds. I knew about it, but first time experience, and that was interesting, to say the least. Ate at a lot of interesting restaurants, a lot of good food, and then the back end of the trip was a fishing trip in Fort Smith, and Fort Smith is not a crossroad, it is a one road. It is as long as maybe a football field, and every place on it is fly fishing shops. And so the Bighorn River is probably one of the top 5 fly fishing destinations if you're into that in the United States. And so we floated the Bighorn several days, and that was fantastic. But I came away with it with 3. You asked me what were the 3 things that I came away with. And I'll share them with you, and then we'll get to this. First of all, it didn't matter where we were. It didn't matter who we were talking to. Age-wise, there is a perception of an overall concern of everybody you talk to about the direction where this country's going. Every conversation went to that, and again, age, sex, it didn't matter. Folks are worried about the direction.
You were in Flyover America.
Yeah, and it ranged from politics to guns to groceries to baby
Southern
formula.
border.
The border, it was everything. And there is a really big worry about where America is going. Second thing is that the pandemic has caused a huge desire of people like you and me and all Americans to get out and travel. Right. Face masks were non-existent. 3 airports. If 5% was a number, that probably is large. People are not wearing face masks. They want to get out, and they're spending money. I mean, they're spending money, and that is putting money into the economy.
You know, an interesting statistic that we talked about today is that pre-pandemic, check deposits and cash on hand across America was $1.9 trillion.
Right.
As of December 31st of 2021, that number had grown to $4.3 trillion.
Yeah.
So there's pent-up demand because people have a whole lot more money, rank and file, than they did just 2.5 short years ago.
And then the third thing was it's expensive. We knew it was going to be expensive. We saw shrinkage in serving shrinkage. Pulled into a McDonald's in the Midwest, and a normal coffee cup has gone down to a smaller coffee cup. Food prices are higher across. Diesel price, we paid $5.69. When you're hauling a horse and a trailer, you stop about a bunch. And we stopped 12 times to just get out there, and that was $100 to fill up every time you do that. So it's expensive, but they haven't hit that threshold where they are not going out.
I'm wondering if it's $5 a gallon gas that mentally just shuts people down.
I don't know. It was, again, part of the conversation. We were with a group that were from California, and they were folks here in North Carolina. be glad we live in North Carolina. What they were describing in California was maddening, and gas price in the $6 and $7 range.
Right.
It was just I couldn't even get my mind around it. But it was a great opportunity. I saw the country. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we have some of the and what's interesting, that we had different opinions about things, but there was a realization, hey, you got an idea, I got an idea, let's talk, and if we can talk and hear each other, we can be respectful to one another, and we can still have a good time.
What a concept.
It was refreshing, and to see America and to see the West. If you've never gone to the West, go to the West.
So what does all this have to do with portfolio? So I think we're nearing an opportunity with certain investments, and we talked about that on today's show. Perhaps we're looking at an entry point at we'll call them the big boxes, those that are in just about every town. They're large, multi-dimensional stores. You know which ones we're talking about. They've really taken it on the chops because of supply chain issues and just overall concern from consumers, and it might be a good re-entry point for 2 or 3 of those types of companies.
Right. Liz and EJ and myself rolled up our sleeves yesterday with one of our major ETFs, exchange traded fund providers, and we really dove into some difficult, straightforward questions to them to explain why certain categories of the ETFs aren't producing like we should be producing. Now, I share that with you simply because of what Gib just said. We are looking for entry points. We are looking for opportunities. We are pushing hard on people that are talking to us about things that we're looking at, and we're digging into, we want you to know, we're digging into what is the right areas to be in and what are the areas not to be in, because we are in agreement, and we do believe we still have a tough time in front of us.
Yeah.
This is not short-lived. This is carrying
we're not fans of a lot of growth tech stocks right now, because I think they have further that they can go down. But certain areas that are consumer staple related, or even consumer discretion, these, because they've been beaten down so much, might have opportunities. And we'll continue to look for opportunities in the bond world, which we've already implemented most of those purchases. And we're going to look at another round of purchases in the bond world, because we've got out of a position that was not performing as well.
Now, the bonds are beginning to show up in your portfolio, and you'll begin to see them. Some of them are going to show up gains. Some of them are going to show down gains. Now, when they're showing now down gains, that's at the moment you're looking at it with the assumption that you were going to sell it right then and there. The bonds will mature at the level we bought it, and we will get the money in which we invested, and the yield be added to it. So don't be misled when you see a bond that if it had a negative value, it would be just if we took it to the market.
If you were going to sell it
then. That's all that is. So don't panic about something that is it is fixed to think you're losing money in it. It doesn't work like that.
But feel free to give us a call if you have any questions related to that, 336-544-6800. And always remember, it is your money.
And your money matters, and I'm glad to be back.